Right now, local businesses are losing thousands of dollars every single month because they can't answer the phones fast enough. If a homeowner calls a roofer and no one picks up, 10 minutes later, a competitor is going to have that job. AI fixes that problem completely, and building an agency around that solution is the fastest way to make $10,000 a month. My agency does a little bit over $31,000 every single month using this exact model. And I've watched students go from $10,000, $15,000 to $19,000 in their first month by plugging in with this system. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to do it, what niche to pick, what to sell, how to get clients, and how long it realistically should take you. And by having someone guiding you through this entire process will compress that timeline completely. So the first thing is picking a niche. It's really, really important that you pick an industry that can actually afford your services and it makes sense for them. They need to have high margins for their jobs, so it makes it a no-brainer to pay you every single month. For example, if you're working with a roofer, roofing jobs can be anywhere between $8,000 to $15,000 to $25,000. Or a fencing job is $3,000 to $7,000. Or some average hardscaping job can be $20,000. The reason that this is so important because if you're looking to charge $1,000 or $2,000 a month, it actually has to make sense for them. If you're working with a landscaper, for example, who's doing $50 grass cuts, you have to give him so much work just for him to even break even. And people are only going to stay with you if they're making a massive return. If people are making a break-even return, there's no real reason to even be working with you. But if you're giving them a massive amount of profit, of course, it's going to be a no-brainer to work with you. The next thing is if they're actively spending money on marketing, even if it's bad. If they're paying their little nephew to run their social media page, or some overseas person to run their Google My Business page, or maybe they even got like a website up with Wix and it's like free or something like that. Regardless, that actively shows that they see the importance of marketing and they're trying to do something even if they don't know how to actually do it properly. The reason that we like to work with these people so much is because we don't want to have to convince the 60-year-old contractor who has never done marketing his entire life, who has a bunch of limiting beliefs around even doing marketing to grow his business. I want to work with the younger guy that's actively trying even if it's not working super well. It shows that he knows that marketing and setting up systems and AI stuff is important in today's day and age. And so all we have to do is just convince him that our stuff is better. We also want to make sure that these niches have enough volume in them and the market size is big enough. For example, if you work with landscapers, there's over 600,000 landscapers in the US alone. You only need a handful of those guys to actually make $10,000 a month within your business. You also want to make sure that you have direct access to the decision maker. You don't want to be talking to a gatekeeper like dentists or med spas or even hair salons or something like that. When you call those businesses, chances are you're going to be talking to a receptionist and their literal job is to protect the business owner and to not let anybody go through to talk to the business owner. And that's going to make it really hard for us to do a ton of volume when we're doing outreach. And that's the whole game of outreach, is hunting a client, is to do as much volume as physically possible. So we want to target people who, when we call their business or we cold SMS them or reach out to them in general, we're reaching out to the person who makes the decisions, aka the business owner. And that's why contracting is so good, is because chances are when you call some sort of contracting company, it's going to be the business owner that actually picks up the phone. And also AI agencies work really, really well in the home service industries. These businesses literally live and die by speed to lead. 78% of customers go with whoever responded the fastest. If a homeowner has a leaking roof and they go on Google and search up roofer near me, obviously Google's just going to show them a bunch of Google My Business listings with a bunch of local roofers. The chances are they're going to call the first person with the highest reviews, and if that person doesn't pick up, well, they're just going to go to the next person. If that person doesn't pick up, they're going to go to the next person until somebody eventually actually picks up the phone, and then the chances are they're just going to go with that person and give their business to them. But the reason that so many contractors don't actually pick up is because chances are they're actually working, right? If a roofer doesn't pick up the phone, they might be on a roof, they might be on a ladder, or it's out in the field in general helping out their crew. They literally physically can't answer every single call. But the cool part is that's the problem that you can solve and charge accordingly. And the reason I like this so much is because this is a recurring problem, so that way we can charge every single month for it. I don't like building one-off AI systems that I could just charge for installment. If anything, I like to charge nothing up front for installment and just charge a monthly basis to keep the system running, because I like recurring revenue way, way, way more. The reason being is because I don't want to have to constantly chase the next sale, the next sale, the next sale. I want to have clients that are ride or die for me and want to stick with me long-term and pay me long-term for that. Now, there are some niches that we want to avoid entirely, something like restaurants or retail or e-commerce, because they have very low margins and there's also a very high churn risk. In the agency space, the word churn is basically just a fancy word for clients leaving you. Something like restaurants, for example, a meal could be like $30 or $40. In order for it to make actual sense for them to pay you, say $1,000 or $2,000 every single month, you have to get them so many people to come in just to buy some food. And the same goes for all the other industries like that. The next thing is don't copycat all the gurus online are pushing. Pick something that actually makes sense for you in your current situation. The reason we don't want to do this is because if some guy on YouTube is getting a ton of views on his video about niche selection and you see that video, he talks about one specific industry that's the best, well, obviously a ton of other people saw that exact same video, and chances are they're actually going to start taking action in that specific industry as well. It's going to saturate the market a little bit more, and it's just going to be harder overall to get results. If you take the time to actually consciously pick something and pick an industry that actually makes sense, chances are you're you're going to see a lot better results in that specific niche. It sounds simple enough, but a lot of people don't like to actually make the decision for themselves. But that is something that you have to do, especially if you're trying to build a business and make money online. By the way, everything that I'm walking through in this video, the AI setups, the ad templates, the outreach scripts, I give away all this stuff completely for free inside of Simple Scale. The link is in the description, but let's keep going. The next thing that I want to talk about is building your AI powered offer. You don't want to just sell AI chatbots or AI voice agents. You need to prioritize selling the result. There's an analogy that I love and I use it all the time, is when travel companies are marketing towards you, they're just telling you about the nice beach that you're going to be sitting on with beautiful blue water. They're not telling you about going through the airport where there's fluorescent lighting everywhere, where you might feel sticky, you might be sitting between two fat people or sweaty people on the plane, and it might just overall not be a good experience. We have to use that analogy and relate it to our agency. So we don't want to sell the little intricate systems that we're going to do. We always want to prioritize selling the actual outcome. So something like AI chatbots, instead of selling the chatbot itself, we want to explain the benefits of that chatbot. Like their phone gets answered instantly. Leads get booked into appointments or estimates automatically, or no more missed jobs, or when leads come in, leads don't fall through the cracks. The reason that we want to do this is because the business owner doesn't care about how you deliver the result. If the business owner is struggling with making money and getting more clients, they don't care about you setting up an AI chatbot if it doesn't work. But if you're taking the time to actually set up a system, regardless of what actually goes into that system to get them results, they're going to happily pay you for that. But a good full system that I actually run within my agency, and I charge $2,000 a month for it, paid ads generate the demand. The landing page has somewhere to collect the information from that demand. And then the AI chatbots and voice agents actually turn that demand into booked estimates. It's a full lead gen and appointment booking system. And the cool part about all this stuff is it's all working together and you can automate it completely with Go High Level. Most people in the AI space are selling one-off AI infrastructures, or maybe they're selling $250 or $500 a month chatbots, which those things are obviously good by itself, but it's way better if you're building a full AI powered, full lead gen to appointment booking system, which you can charge $1.5 or $2,000 a month. AI is the delivery engine. It's not the entire offer. And that's exactly why clients stay, and you can charge more for it. If a business is completely dependent on you for their entire inbound work demand, well, they're not going to leave you. If you just build them a one-time system to respond to missed calls, well, you can charge obviously a little bit amount of money for it, but it's not solving a massive problem. Businesses are always going to struggle with more work, okay? And if you build a system that will generate more work, well, then you could charge accordingly in every single month for that thing, because it's a problem that's never going to go away. But regardless, I want to be more specific, is if you're starting out and you're a little bit newer to this entire space, I actually do recommend you starting out with a more lower ticket service, maybe $300 or $500 a month. The reason being is because it actually gets you into the door, understanding the space, understanding your prospects, understanding what people are struggling with. You obviously have clients, you know how to deliver for a client, you know what the sales process looks like, you know what the client fulfillment process looks like. It gives you reps and overall just builds you more proof and conviction when you're on sales calls and selling your product. And most people who get into this kind of online agency space, they go into it with some expectations that they're going to make $50,000 in their first month or their second month. And that's just not really how the whole thing works. Everyone comes from different backgrounds and has different beliefs, especially when growing up. And so your situation is completely different from somebody else's. Regardless, no matter what, I highly recommend that you do not go into the agency model looking to make a bunch of money really fast, because as fast as you make it is as fast as you're going to lose it. I've seen so many agency owners over the past couple of years, they come into the space, they make a ton of money into it, but they never actually take the time to build a sustainable agency. They go into it, they sell a bunch of pay in fulls, and they don't actually take any time building strong relationships and results for their clients for them to stay with them long term. And especially as you're trying to scale your business, eventually you're going to be running paid ads and you're constantly going to be reinvesting that front end cash into signing more clients. And that's not where you're going to make a ton of your profit. You're going to make a lot of your profit for yourself on those recurring clients every single month. You can only ever actually do that if you build strong relationships with your clients and give them really, really good results. Regardless, the best price that you can charge for your service is the one that you can say with complete conviction. Conviction is so important, especially when you're on sales calls, because you need to believe in your product. You need to actually believe that you can deliver a good service to them. If you have no idea what I was talking about with the Facebook ads and stuff like that, and you're trying to go straight into that, that's going to portray to your clients, and they're going to have questions that you can't answer, and that just builds uncertainty on their side. The whole point of signing a client is to get rid of as much uncertainty as we physically possibly can. So just creating more uncertainty is just stupid. So first, build a strong foundation, and then you can raise your price later. That's exactly what I did. When I was first starting out, I started selling websites for $33 a month. All right, I wouldn't charge anything up front for it. I would just charge for hosting and maintaining it. We built that up to $1,000 a month in recurring. We had a really strong foundation with a ton of clients. A lot of those clients actually eventually came into the higher ticket stuff with like ads and things like that. So we already had a bunch of proof of concept on sales calls. We already had a bunch of clients. It made us a little bit more confident talking about things. We understood our clients a little bit better, our prospects a little bit better, and just made the entire process a lot easier, especially when we started to scale. Regardless Regardless, after a certain point, our skills just got better, so it didn't even really make sense for us to do the websites anymore, but we would have never built those skills unless we took the time to actually go through that process. Once we moved up to selling appointments and AI lead gen overall, is when things really started to drastically change for us. The next thing that I want to talk about is getting those clients as quickly as we possibly can. Cold calling is probably by far the fastest way to get your first client. When I'm calling, I have my script, my dialer, my leads, and my booking link open. That's it. I'm not distracted. I'm not scrolling on Instagram Reels. I'm not playing Clash of Clans. I'm fully present on the conversation that I'm having with these potential clients. If my head's constantly jumping around as that phone's ringing and then eventually a prospect picks up and I'm kind of a little bit confused and I'm not fully present, well, it's just going to be like a waste of time on my part. All right, but a massive example that I love to talk about is changing your perception of cold calls in general, okay? Because a lot of people have a negative viewpoint around it when in reality, every single call that you make is actually making you money. And it's very, very important that we actually change the way that we perceive cold calls in general. Because if we perceive them to be bad, then it's just going to be an overall terrible experience and we're not going to want to do them. But if we view it as something that's good and it's making us money, we're networking, we're talking to other business owners, and we're overall a good experience, then we're going to want to cold call and we're going to want to get to a result faster. Relying on willpower is not going to get us the results that we're looking for. Say, for example, that we're charging $4,000 and we do 200 cold calls. We have a 5% booking rate. That means that every 100 calls, we book 5 people. So we did 200 calls, we booked 10 people in. We have a 50% show up rate. So out of 10 calls that we booked in, only 5 people actually showed up. And we have a 20% close rate. So we closed 1 deal on 4K. That means those 200 cold calls that we made, every single call was worth $20. Obviously, this is a bit of an extreme example, but you can relate this to your cold call. Every cold call that you make is actually making you money. And it's important that you change your beliefs around cold calling in general to be more positive. Always leave your cold calls with a positive experience. You never want to leave them with a negative experience. So if you're talking to prospects and you get the guy that's really rude, hang up on them as fast as you possibly can. You always want to go into cold calls trying to leave with a positive experience. If you're always leaving cold calls with a bad experience, all it's doing is constantly reinforcing that cold calls are bad. And most beginners hide behind cold calls and cold DMs because they're actually afraid to get out there and do cold calls. So believe it or not, cold calling isn't as saturated as you may think it is. There's a ton of people that do it with scripts that they found on YouTube, or they're just saying random things that they don't actually know why they're saying it, and it just overall won't work. But if you take the time to actually understand why you're saying what you're saying on cold calls and take the time to actually understand your prospects' pain points and try to help them solve a problem, well, that's what's going to lead you to seeing the results that you want with cold calling. It's also really good because you learn the niche way faster because you're actively talking to these business owners all the time. The next thing is, once you have those skills of talking to the business owners, understanding their pain points, understanding what they actually want within a service, then you can switch to something like cold SMS, which is a little bit more automated. As time goes on, we don't want to be doing cold calls as much, is because it's a little bit more lower leverage, and we want to take time to prioritize building an actual system that books meetings for us. The reason I like it so much is because when you send out cold SMS, say a few hundred every single day, only people who are super interested will actually reply. And all you have to do is call up those people who are actually interested and try to book them in for a meeting. Regardless, what I recommend is you actually do both. You do cold calling and you also do cold SMS, because you're not going to get a ton of positive replies with cold SMS in general, especially if you're not sending out a massive volume every single day. So do cold calls and stay consistent with that. And then alongside cold calls, you want to also do cold SMS. Regardless, I still recommend you doing cold calling when you're first starting out, because you actually will understand what business owners want and actually care about. The next thing is paid ads. Okay, these are the main 3 things that I like to recommend: cold calling, cold SMS, and then eventually you want to do paid ads. Paid ads is single-handedly going to be the fastest way for you to scale your agency. That's what I did to scale to $31,000 in 3 months. It's what all of the other successful agency owners that I know are doing, because it's a lot more automated and you're booking meetings pretty much on autopilot. People are coming to you, you're not going to them. People will see your offer on those ads and then decide to actually take action with you. So you're getting people that you know have buying intent. But it's important that you have cash flow, you have clients first, you actually understand sales. So when you put money into ads and you have meetings, you can actually close them. Because if you can't close them, well, essentially what you're doing is you're just burning money. A qualified prospect to sit down with you is cheaper with paid ads than with cold SMS. Because cold SMS does cost money. You're sending out text messages within high level, and every message has a certain amount of money that is tied to it. It's not as expensive as paid ads, but regardless, you guys get the point. I recommend that you can start ads if you have at least $2,000 to test properly. $2,000 saved up, and then you also have recurring clients on top of that. You're pretty much good to run ads for at least 2 months. And realistically, if you have everything dialed in, you should be able to close a client within your first $1,000 of ad spend. Now, the last thing is I want to talk about is how long it should take. I like to reverse engineer all of my goals. So let's reverse engineer $10,000 a month. At $15,000 a month per client, you need 7 clients to hit $10,000 a month. month. 2,500, you need 4. So when you're cold calling, you're doing cold SMS or paid ads, you can actually calculate exactly how many dials per day it will take to get you there. That's also another reason why it's so important to actually track your data in any of the systems that you're building, because you'll actually be able to understand how many inputs you need to do to get to the result that you want to get to. And one thing that's important to keep in mind is everybody's situation is completely different. I was selling $33 a month websites for 6 months, just hit $1,000 a month. Once I switched to AI powered lead gen, I hit $25,000 in my second month. And students like Matthew hit $10,000 in month 1, but they had systems and someone guiding them through that process. For most people, it takes a lot longer than it actually should, because most people, they switch niches too often. They get into one industry, they realize that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and then they find another one, they want to go into that one. The same process happens again, and then it's a constant cycle of going to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and overall, you're basically just kind of starting over every single time you do that. Most people also like to overthink their offer, thinking about all the little intricate things that they're going to do for their clients, but again, they don't really care about that stuff. All they care about is seeing results. People also avoid doing the things that they know that they need to be doing. For example, cold calling, people love to avoid that stuff. The things that you don't want to do is what you need to do to get to the situation that you want to get to. At the end of the day, all we're doing is we're building systems that help generate us clients. And if you're not tracking your metrics, you don't know what part of the system is actually breaking down. The people who hit 10K the fastest, they commit, they follow a system, and they don't overcomplicate it. So that's the fastest path to 10K a month with an AI agency. Pick a niche with real margins, solve a problem business owners actually care about, use AI to deliver better results with less manual work, and get on the phones to actually start signing clients. If you want the exact full system, Simple Scale has everything: the AI setups, the scripts, the frameworks, and it's completely free. I only make money when you succeed. The link is in the description. Subscribe if you want to see more of these. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.